feminine dance, which is what I'm trying to teach the world, this is, you know, what's happening there is that both people, it's not a top-down thing because both polarities have like innate power. And it's just very different, which means that in one scenario, and relative to one quality, for example, the female may have more power and the male less. And in another situation, the male may have more power and the female less. And if we think about feminine and masculine polarity as being like two different elements, kind of like fire and water, it's very easy to see how the equality is not about sameness, it's about different qualities of power. So why am I wanting to make this point? Because basically, this overall picture of equality within a relationship is, and not equality the way that the women's rights movement tried to put it. This kind of equal power dynamic that can happen within masculine and feminine dynamics does not normally happen within the context of that relationship with a pet or a child. So that is to say, basically, I don't want you, if you are going to use this mentality around pet ownership or being a daddy, I don't want you to then slip into this concept of it being like this authoritarian kind of top-down relationship, which is what happens with most pets and children. Okay, the second thing that I want you to understand really deeply, if you're going to use that as your template with which to contain women, is the usual association, right, that people have with both pet ownership and parenthood is that the pet or child is not really treated as a person. Rather, they're treated as property, as like a thing that is yours to do with whatever you want. So the pet or the child doesn't have its own thoughts, its own feelings, needs, strengths, purposes, preferences, and whatever else, right? They don't really have the boundaries. And also doesn't know what's best for itself. And so basically, like, it's a thing to shape and to mold and to sort of train and dictate to and control. This is not what women want in a relationship, and it is not what is important for men to do when they're trying to sort of master this masculine feminine dance, if you will. What else? Oh, given that I've said all these things, like, I want to be like very, very clear that the mentality that we have about pets and children is not correct either. It's just that the association most of us have with this can get us into a lot of trouble if we're going to use it as our template for providing good containment. So the next thing that I want to make clear, I think, right now, and I'm thinking about it, is that there is actually relationships out in the world. That's something that most people don't know about. There are, such as a pet owner dynamic, such as a big little dynamic, such as a daddy dom with a baby girl dynamic. And I can assure you that if you were to watch these relationships, you would see how very, very different they are from this very vanilla kind of polarized masculine-feminine relationship. Now, when I say that, I recognize that because many of you have not been taught about how to live in these polarized dynamics, what I have presented to you and am continuing to present to you in terms of masculine and feminine, including within the e-course that I created, it doesn't feel very vanilla. But I can completely promise you it's extremely vanilla. Like, there are full-blown lifestyle dynamics that fit into the pet thing, that fit into the daddy thing, that are like very extreme, and they do not look the same as what I'm trying to teach you here with this course. Okay, so that was all your warning around this. All that being said, I could potentially stretch myself to see that if a man, say, related to a woman as like, okay, I'm sort of thinking about it like as if I owned a pet, that might cause him to step into like higher degrees of responsibility, for example, for her well-being. Or it might cause him to get out ahead of her and be able to kind of lead more or something like that. But as long as you're avoiding the kinds of shadows of that, like maybe that would be something that would work for you. But do not get into this mentality of like, it's a top-down dynamic unless that's something you're looking for, and do not get into this mentality that, women don't have their own wants, needs, thoughts, power. Woo! We're getting into some juicy subjects, aren't we? Maybe I've got some people out there in the kink world that are in these types of relationships, and they can truly attest for me as to how different these relationships are from what I'm trying to teach people with the masculine and feminine dynamics. Okay, so my team is telling me that we have reached the end of the night for just tonight. As you know, I'm going to be back tomorrow night to answer more of these questions, because I like spending so much time with you, especially at Christmas time. But what's going to happen is that my team is going to get on here right after I get off, because they've got some more things to say and some more things to announce, and some, they're going to answer any of the questions that you have too, if any of you have those.